Hello, my name is Brant. Today is the 5th day of August, 2021. And how are you doing today? Really, how are you doing today? So I wrote a question here. Why do I suffer? Um, you know, why do we struggle? What's going on? I know that for me, in the last couple months, it's been extremely tired, have very little energy, and feel frustrated. And I get angry much easier now. So why is this happening? Is it just happening just to me, or is it happening to others? Is there, you know, our inner world is where either we have peace or we don't. Uh, it it doesn't really mean much that is on the outer world, you see, because what's occurring within us is how we really feel deeply, and it affects us. It affects us what I would call in the areas of physical, the realm. Um, so many refuse to see that. I know as being brought up in a Christian family and a Christian thinking, I can remember the thinking that they would tell us that it must be God's will for you to suffer. You see, so this is the teachings that was taught to us at a young age, because it was God's will that we would suffer. What kind of nonsense is that? And who is this God they speak of? Did they invent this God just to? Did they invent? Whoever these religious people were thousands of years ago. Did they just invent God so that we wouldn't feel alone in this world? We do feel alone, don't we? Isn't that why we seek a mate? I should say, not make a mate. Someone who has attributes that we don't have, or our different personality per se, who can see things a little differently than we can. And but the what's happening to most people is the issue of suffering. Is There's an inner strife taking place, and we're not getting answers. We're frustrated by that. We're frustrated that we can't seem to find out who we are. Why do we come here for? What is my purpose? You know, the questions I asked yesterday, even today. Did I just happen just to be born here for some reason? Happenstance? That doesn't make sense. Is there, you got to, the whole thinking about what I'm sharing is that you need to probe, because I believe that we're not a body. We're just living inside a vessel, so to speak, a body. Um, and we have to take care of that body in order for us to continue to live, physically, that is. And we are within, either we're on within us or out of us. That I can't answer that. Do we have a soul or spirit? I can't answer that either. We're told we have these things, but then we're told a lot of things, folks. We're told many things about us, and unless we probe those questions and ask those questions and probe, we're not going to find those answers, because we're going to find simply is they don't answer why I feel the way I do. And so back to this whole idea simply is that it must be God's will for me to suffer. It's just to get people to feel at ease with themselves when they are suffering. Well, the suffering's there for a reason, and it's not for God's purpose for you to suffer. And who is God? Is he something that was created by the priestcraft, those who sought to divide us? It's really this is the whole. I think this whole thing is going on. All of this is for us to think about what is going on. That is, all this, people having to be put into places and kept in places because of this so-called CV-19 or whatever it is, which is nothing but to me is, well, it is a fear. It is fear porn. And when you're in fear, you just lock up. You just simply, you just lock up. You're not you're just you're down. You're no longer. So your energy is being used for that purpose and not being used for something else, to manifest something out here or to within your own self. And so this is part of the game, so to speak. People people are caught up in the physical part, that, and I have been and still am in some ways. The issue simply is where, what's going to happen. We have an idea what's going to happen. Simply is they're going to destroy what we become dependent upon. You see, at one time we were not dependent upon certain items in life because we lived on farms and grew our own food. But that's no longer, you see. Almost 90% of us, probably 95% of us don't even do that, you see. Maybe 5% of the people live on a farm in America. They might live out in the country, but that doesn't mean they live on a farm. And when I mean farm, I don't mean simply as an industrial farm or something of that nature. I'm talking about having a garden or a field that you're producing products each day. That is with your crops, you see. But I've digested away from what I wanted to share. So this is the whole idea simply is you to think. You have downtime now. You are not, some of you are still not working. So the key is simply is, why aren't you outside? Why aren't you enjoying nature, pursuing that? Why aren't you searching, asking questions now? Because you have some time to do that, to probe within you. What happened to what occurred before I was born here? Who am I? Not what someone tells me I am, but who am I? You see? And religion tries to answer this question in a way that actually isn't really the answer. Because unless you ask questions to yourself and probe, you don't know who you are. You're dependent on someone else telling you what they see you are. And they've been taught this. It's called theology or doctrines. And most people, here's the whole idea of the problem with some of this thinking is simply is that you basically got your card to basically get out of hell, so you don't go to hell, which is another make believe stuff. You see, you're actually in a lot of ways living within your own self. You're living in hell because you're divided, because you're not whole. You see. And so what happens to me, as I'm 61 years old, so I'm not a young man anymore. And I discovered this week that my eyesight is not what it used to be. not something I really look forward to, not something I really was wanting to hear. Um, and so these things scare you. You got to be realistic. They do scare you. I'm not joking. Is this what is there certain things I'm eating or whatever is causing this problem? Should I be taking more vitamins, minerals, whatever it is? Do you, you know, you know, uh, most of what our diet here in America is just is pathetic, and the problem simply is it's becoming harder and harder for us to find decent food, especially with the smaller businesses gone. You see, there used to be what we call here where I lived at, were a couple places you could get a decent meal that was cooked. I'm not saying that that's perfect food. I'm just saying simply that you can get a decent meal. Nowadays, they're gone. And there was a place here that followed the Western Prices deal. That is, I don't know, who Weston Price is, but he was a doctor, a dentist who went out probing, in the early 1900s and trying to find out what was going on with the Western world of civilization. And he would go elsewhere and found that most people didn't have the health issues that we have here in the Western world already. Their teeth were perfect, their faces were full, they had good tone in here, so there wasn't lacking. And most of these people were living off the land. Many of them were living in, like we would call, in the polar sections of the world. So in other words, they would eat certain foods that we would say, "Oh, that's bad for you," such and such. So, anyway, uh, the idea simply is that there was no such thing as brushing your teeth or toothpaste in the past. I'm not saying but that was the truth. But the food has gotten so bad that it doesn't really benefit you within. There was something I came across. I don't know if it's true or not, but it's something I looked into, and I've been researching. As to do with simply is that the Indians used to eat what they call organ meats. So the organs were the primary thing when they killed a buffalo or a bear, whatever they killed. They would immediately eat the heart, eat the liver, eat certain organs. And it's still true, not from Indians today, but it's true of what I would call of the raptors, that is the birds. The first thing, that is the eagles, the falcon, and the hawks. They seek out the food, what we would call the organ meats, because they're highly dependent upon the brain type of thinking, that is their minds, and also their eyes. They're highly dependent upon their eyes, because if they don't have good eyesight, they can't scope and be able to look up high and search out for prey. So, but the whole point, back to, I've kind of got off subject here, but the whole point simply is that we suffer because simply is we're divided within. And if we're divided within, then we don't have harmony within us, you see. And almost all of the people are looking outside of themselves as though they're looking for the answers, when reality simply says that can't be. It has to be from within, you see. So my whole hope here is to share with you, when I go back to what I'm sharing here, why do I suffer? Why do I suffer? And I'm not talking the physical realm. I'm talking about, why did I hurt deep inside? Why is there a longing? Why is there a feeling of loneliness within yourself? There's nothing wrong with feeling lonely, but the point simply is, we don't probe any longer there. We just say these thoughts come in our mind, and then we just push them away because we don't want to deal with them. A lot of people just don't want to think. They just simply want to enjoy, or many have already given up. You see them, they've given up on life. And so they don't probe, they don't ask questions. And that's why I asked questions yesterday, and I've asked this morning on Facebook. Simply, my page is simply to do with why do who am I? Why did I come here for? There's a purpose here, isn't there? Did I just come here just to be here? Did I just come here to work at a job for 35, 40 years of my life and then die? It doesn't make any sense. Or to, get a piece of property, to live on the land, so to speak, those type of things, which are not bad. But the point simply is there's something deeper, has to be much deeper than that, you see. And the whole idea is simply is that we seem to be fearful, or we either have the answers already. You see, we've been told that we are, this type of person, and if we do this, we have this savior mentality. That so everything's been taken care of, so I can go out and have a good time, so to speak. When reality simply is that anybody that tells you that they have the answer, you should run away from them. You should. Because they don't have the answer. They're there to sell you something, or to get you to believe in something. Why is it, and I'm going to say this, I'm not jumping on Christianity, but I do think simply is that why do they feel they're compelled to witness to people? Wouldn't it be self-evident that if they were truly who they are, that would be self-evident that others would seek them out? If you're such a great person, or a loving person, then I would see that. I would recognize that. Wouldn't I? Wouldn't I pursue that instead of someone knocking on my door trying to save me? Are you trying? And then you have to ask yourself the question simply is this. So why are you trying to save me? Are you trying to get brownie points based upon your God, your whole belief system? Yes. Hello, Lottie M, I think it is. How are you doing today? I see that you were mentioning something about Western Price. Good to see you here today. So my point simply is that why do we suffer? And the suffering is within here, your mind. And most of us, a lot of us are fearful of even asking the questions within us. Isn't it scary in some ways? We've been so programmed to not even seek to find the answers. That's why this is why we're entertained in our society, in every aspect, either sports, comedy, television, whatever you want to call it. We seek entertainment, but it's a void. It doesn't solve anything. It's just a passing through the time, so to speak. You follow? Most of us are occupied with things. We're just waiting to die. That's what we're doing. We're waiting to die. We're waiting to check out. Especially people who get older. I think that this is critical when we think about this, is that people give up. They no longer, so there's no answers out here. They've already tried Christianity. They found it simply as it doesn't work, or either I'm not putting enough faith in it, or I'm not putting enough something in it. When reality simply is that it's not true. And so they seek other things. They seek pornography. If they're not married or whatever, thinking that will solve something, when in reality it doesn't. There are people who are doing different things today. They're saying, I'm no longer a man, or I'm no longer a woman. I want to be something else. So I want to be if I'm a man, I want to be a woman. And if I'm a woman, I want to be a man. I'm not happy. I'm not content with even all my physical aspects. You see, I would suggest that you would look into Richard Rose. Um, Look at Ouspensky. I spelled Ouspensky. And then there's Gurdjieff, Gurdjieff. The whole idea of psychology is this. It's the idea that you have a psyche. The whole idea of, I'm trying to think his name, the father of psychology, back in the 1860s. I can't think of his name right now. But anyway, the whole idea was to study the mind. And something went wrong. Something happened to go wrong within 30 or 40 years. Suddenly it got off tangent. And what did I mean by that? It was no longer looking at the mind, the many eyes that Gurdjieff talked about. The ones that, we tell someone we're not going to lie, and we tell them such and such, and then next, 10 minutes later, someone asks, well, you said you're going to do this. No, I didn't. You see, those are the many eyes. Those are the many different compartments, because you're divided within your own head, your own mind. And they went to the area simply as behaviorism. If we can control people's behavior, or give them some type of stimulant or substance to control them or help them, so supposedly, then this will solve the problem. And so its focus was no longer on the brain, the mind, and what's going on within, which is the primary instrument in how we think, how we look at things. Either we make a judgment, either it's good or bad. Instead, it becomes the secondary, meaning your behavior and how you act in front of people, or how you act, that is, you're depressed or schizophrenic, I should say. And so we can give you a drug, or we can, and this started, think about the mental hospitals that were started in the 1800s. People were locked up. There were people, people who were considered crazy. You see, all I'm asking you to do is to probe within you. All I'm asking you is to ask yourself, who am I? Not my name, not my social security number, not what I do, you see, but who are you? And that means simply is you've got to go and be by yourself. And you've got to keep asking yourself these questions. And you don't accept anybody's answer. Some guru out there, a philosopher or whatever, telling you such and such, that's who you are. No, you got to find out for yourself. So I hope that those who listen or will listen in the future will probe, will actually, ask themselves, why am I here? Who was I before? Why did I choose my certain family members, or did they choose me? And why did they come? This is key. If you look at astrology, why was I born at a certain time in a certain year and day? Did you control that? Why, for example, I know a couple of women I've talked to who have had kids, and they've told me this because these women were intuitive, deep. They named their child by what the child told them the name they wanted. In other words, they listened to their child when they were within themselves for 9 months, and the child said, "I want to be called so and so." You do know the simply is that the child that's within a mother is a certain time period, and eventually it chooses to become a male or a female. At one point, we don't know what it is at first because there's nothing showing, but that eventually changes. So why does this happen? Does the child choose that? Does that child choose to be a boy or a girl? And we can come up with all these slick answers, such and such, but there's got to be a spiritual aspect here. Why did the person, the entity, the infant, before it became a boy or girl, why did it choose these things? And then why did it choose? Why did it choose to leave its mother's womb at a certain time? Although we know the doctors now are doing artificial stuff, that are wrecking people's babies' lives, or giving drugs to quote unquote sedate that child or that mother. Both are drugs. These doctors are maniacs. They're completely maniacs because they're looking at their schedule. That's all they care about, and money. They're doing it for the purpose of money and their schedule because they don't want to be inconvenient. Just think of those things. Think about, just ask you questions. That's all you got to do. And if you later on want to answer, I'll try to answer. I don't have all the answers. That's why I'm sharing what's going on in my own life. So anyway, I appreciate you listening, and I wish all a beautiful day, and that you would sense that you're much more special than what you have been told. Okay. Thank you and good day.